Welcome back, I'm Tedward, and today, thanks to Team Champagne Ninjas, we're getting our first drive in the Mercedes-Benz AMG CLK DTM. I mean, AMG built this, but it was actually built by HWA. There are only 100 of these in the world, and they were split between coupes and convertibles. Besides its raucous supercharged 5.5-liter V8 making 579 horsepower, that's thanks to some forged pistons, hot cams, redone intakes. This is like a real peach of a motor. I'll tell you, I've driven a bunch of E55s and other 5.5-liter supercharged AMGs. None of them have compared to what I've just felt in this. We're gonna go out for a ride, and it is a hoot. They did a bunch of cool stuff with these cars because these came before the Black Series. Next to it is an SL65 AMG Black Series. This one has Rentec goodies on it, making 1,000 pound-feet of torque, but that's a V12 with twin turbos. This does not need to spool up. This supercharger gets up and goes fast. The bodywork is almost a little cartoonish and silly. Those vents are fake actually on the rear, and you get these kind of like chrome tuning fork wheels that when they're not covered in brake dust, because the owner does use this, I appreciate that, they look a little like early 2000s Hot Boy Racer. This is very Fast and Furious, but inside is where this gets a little crazy because carbon door panels, carbon rear seats, and it's incredible because now you get to hear this insane engine with the roof off, unlike you would in the coupe. These have beautiful carbon bucket seats. Now think about this, early 2000s, this is 2005. Getting seats like this, not normal. And around the back, we have this great carbon deck spoiler with the beautiful plate, CLK DTF. Now, the DTM is designed to commemorate like DTM racing, and only special customers were allowed to buy this car. And think about this, in 2005, these were about $300,000 in 05. That's bananas. But otherwise, it's a normal CLK underneath. Under the hood, let's take a look and see. I'm not sure it looks anything wildly special because all the good stuff is underneath. So that's the thing, is if you just took this engine out, you'd look at it and think, well, that's a normal, 5.5-liter supercharged V8. But unlike the stock normal AMGs, this even has a hotter supercharger that spins a little faster. So you get throttle response instantly. What's incredible too is that the way they've dialed in the suspension feels really good. That Black Series always feels a little too stiff. It feels like it wants to jump around a little bit, whereas this feels really dialed in, more like the Porsches of the world, where you can actually just explore the limits of the car, turn it in, it feels really balanced, and it's not that scary to drive. Oh, and check this out, carbon hood. I'm not sure what it weighs, but it does actually feel a little bit light on its feet. Exclusive also to the DTM is this Alcantara steering wheel, and you get this funky little CLK DTM plaque down here, 1 out of 100. And remember, those are split between coupes and convertibles. Also down here, very different than the standard CLK, buried in carbon fiber next to an engine start-stop button, is your soft top switch, your traction control, and your transmission settings in manual, sport, or drive. So let's start this up and go for a drive in the dream car. And man, oh man, it is so cool to see all the little buttons everywhere, these nice clicky, flappy paddles for the 5-speed auto, which shockingly does a pretty darn good job keeping up. All right, let's start up the DTM, get this roof down. Very cool. Get these down. We've got our friend Pete over. Oh my God, this button is so hot. Kind of a scary soft top button. It is burning hot. Oh yes, DTM Cabriolet. Maybe this is the answer. Into drive with a big ka-thunk. First thing you notice, the steering is a lot heavier than you think. Oh, it's so weird. It's got like this inside tachometer. nice clicks on the shifter paddles, but the steering wheel is so much smaller than what's in the SL65 Black Series ahead of us. There's a lot more feedback from it as well. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's fast. This is faster than I thought it would be. Wow. Oh my goodness. It's not just an appearance package. This thing actually rips. This handles. Wow. This is no joke. This supercharger is unlike anything I felt in any other like 55 series AMG. This engine has a lot of work done to it. Big slide in the 65, baby. Oh my God. See, unlike the 65 where it's got to spool up those giant turbos, the supercharger is on tap immediately. And you just hear it. I mean, this supercharger is built so it's supposed to rev a little faster, gets more induction pressure going. That's just unbelievable. This thing's a riot. The speedometer means nothing because it's in kilometers, and then the center is telling me insane speeds that are definitely not currently happening. Wow. I mean, this really is like track ready. The front is like kind of darty. It's following the road a bit. These seats, they're like Porsche carbon buckets without quite as much of a wing on them. They're really rigid though. So good. Let's hear it echo off of these guardrails a little bit. Definitely not the hardest shifts in the world, but they get the job done. Oh my God. This is amazing. That intake noise is just bonkers. And it's like electric car torque. Like, you just put your foot into it harder and it goes faster. It's just this is bonkers. I didn't know, you know, you look at the numbers and you think, well, this engine can't be that much faster than what I've experienced in like an E55 or a CLK 55. But I'm telling you, I've never ever felt an AMG engine like this. This is next level. We can wake the dead. Brakes are phenomenal. These feel really good. Pedal is just right there for you. It gives you that braking feedback. And the thing, I guess the main difference between that Black Series and this DTM is that this just, I feel the road, I feel everything. That, it numbs the experience a bit and it makes it scary because you've got 1,000 pound-feet of torque there. So while it's wandering around, you're like following the rear end's decisions. Whereas in this car, I feel like I'm really dialed in and I'm planted where I want to be. Let's just see what this feels like from a stop. Ready? Lays a little patch. No wonder Kim.com had a couple of these things and took them to the Nürburgring. This is like a real treat. They really handle. I'm gonna tell you right now, if this DTM was one of your dream cars or a hero car in the early 2000s, you were right. You were right. This is not disappointing. This is the best. Honestly, it's pretty well balanced. Like, this is a car you actually want to drive fast. What more could you ask for? Out carbon corners with a Rentec SL65 AMG Black Series in this CLK DTM. This is motoring, man. Oh, what a beautiful day. The gears are actually kind of long. I'm finding myself, I'm going to look back on this and go, oh, I think you were short shifting a little bit. I really might have, but the torque band is just so broad. The shifts are relatively smooth, except the 1-2 is always pretty gnarly and aggressive and it hits. And that's fun. It's charming. It makes you feel like it's reinforced. And it's like, all right, we're ready to party for that 1-2 getting off the line. It would be pretty cool to have this in an updated transmission, because I genuinely can't even, it's not held back that much by its transmission, but just if this was like a DCT, it would be a complete game changer. Or a stick shift, but honestly, I kind of like that it's not a stick shift because it adds a little extra charm to it. Flappy paddles at this time period were a big deal. Remember, like Ferrari Enzo had flappy paddles. That was neat. That was cool. So it definitely makes sense for the audience it was capturing at the time it was doing it. That's gonna do it for the CLK DTM. This is a real shock. I mean, it's not shocking that it's fast or shocking that it's kind of good. It's shocking that it's so good. It's shocking that it's so raw and engaging, and it really feels like a driver's car. And I just was not anticipating this to be the case at all. I really, really, really thought that when you get these like low production cars and they're just trying to sell them to rich people, sometimes it really does feel like, well, maybe it's just a cash grab, and they're like, well, we're gonna do whatever, we're not gonna really tune it up that much, maybe it'll still be a nightmare to drive. No, this is like actually kind of track worthy and ready to go, and it's really fun on a back road and still compliant enough to drive day to day. I mean, it works on regular roads, unlike the SL65 Black Series, which I really don't think works that well on regular roads. It's a good car, but it's very stiff. So I guess color me surprised that this DTM is so approachable and usable and easy, because they very well could have just made something extreme with some power and a nice exhaust, and then no one will ever know because they're gonna get tucked away in the VVIP's garages. So cheers to old school AMG. This is incredible. I love this car. If you thought it's your hero car, you were right. If you thought it looked silly, you're right, but it drives better than it looks silly. So thank you so much to Team Champagne Ninjas for the opportunity to play with this today. I really, really love some quality time in this DTM. This thing is unbelievable, and it is very much DTF, as the plate says. Thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one.